is going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. It is Saturday, April 25th, 2020, and today's episode is going to be about the Q1 financial conference call in regards to how WWE is handling business and all that stuff, hosted by Vince McMahon. And I can't wait to talk about this because I specifically saved it for the ending of this podcast. We're going to talk about everything that Vince McMahon went over as far as financials, as far as the network, as far as pay-per-view, live events, when they foresee WWE being in a full arena again, and the ratings. The ratings is what I want to really hone in on. SmackDown's ratings have been in the toilet. We all know that. SmackDown is terrible. My buddy Bruce is doing a god-awful job over on Friday nights. Monday Night Raw has seen some of the lowest ratings in the history of the show. But you would think, as a normal human being, the reasons for the ratings all across the board, whether it's WWE or AEW, NXT, all across the board, would be because of the fact people don't want to watch a pro wrestling show in an empty arena. Now, you would think that's the reason. Now, Monday Night Raw, I've stated. SmackDown, I've stated. They would have been this terrible with or without a crowd. But wait until you hear the reasons why Vince McMahon thinks the ratings for Monday Night Raw and SmackDown on Fox are in the toilet. He threw every single person on that roster under the bus. Everybody. Every champion. He threw Drew McIntyre under the bus. He threw the new talent under the bus. Yet he doesn't realize, he doesn't think, and he's able to get away with what he says because the people listening to him don't know any better. They may be just as dumb as he is. I will unleash fact after fact, truth bomb after truth bomb on this particular segment. So much so that it boiled me with anger when I was listening to this shit. When I was reading the transcripts to this shit. I'm going to dig my fucking teeth and my claws into this shit so much that Vince McMahon, I will make him look like the biggest fucking idiot. I will make him look like it's his first day as head of creative in WWE. This shit irks the shit out of me. And I don't know, at the end of all this, I don't know who invested their money into this fucking company with these people, with this fucking idiot running this company. I really don't. So if that is a foreshadowing of what's to come, I better see you guys hit that thumbs up. Hit that thumbs up down below. We're going to go over the Monday Night Raw news. We're going to go over the NXT news, the AEW news. I got news on Triple H, what he thought about Ciampa Gargano, what he thought about the cinematic matches, what he thinks about a 2-day WrestleMania. Is WrestleMania going to be 2 days next year? I got news on that. Ton of stuff right here on Off the Script, episode 323. This is part number 2 of the podcast. Again, thank you guys so very much. Hit that thumbs up. Very important if you do. Hit that thumbs up. Please make sure you get the video out there for more eyes, more ears on YouTube in the recommended. It helps out the channel. It helps me out tremendously. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. Follow me on Twitter at JDfromNY206. That's on Twitter and Instagram. Patreon.com/JDfromNY206. If you missed any of my other content, links will be down below in the description of this very video. And as always, I got to shout out my boys over at Audible, audibletrial.com/offthescript. You guys are going to get 30 days free and 1 free audiobook for signing up using our unique link, audibletrial.com/offthescript. A lot of people are leaning on podcasts like this one and audiobooks on Audible to get them through this time in quarantine. Audible is going to give you guys not only 30 days free to browse their service, but they're going to give you 1 free audiobook of your choice as well, just for signing up as a thank you for using their service. 200,000 choices to choose from, a lot of which are wrestling related. You guys can get Jim Ross's new book, Under the Black Hat. You guys can go get Mayor Kane's new book, where he talks about his life in wrestling and politics. Charlotte Flair, you could talk about how Charlotte Flair became the real android that she is today with your friends when you listen to the audiobook. Daniel Bryan, Bill Goldberg, Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart, You name it, it's on there. And if you don't want the wrestling stuff, you guys could go out there and pick anything you want, but make it count because you only get one. Guys, support me and support Audible. audibletrial.com/offthescript. I want to thank you guys for watching, and I want to thank them for supporting the podcast going on 4 years strong. All right, man, let's start off with Monday Night Raw. Oh, everybody's favorite show on television, right? Monday Night Raw. Give me a break. Give me a break. Folks, they're putting smiles on people's faces. They're putting smiles on people's faces. Where? While watching the show or while they do something else during the show? I don't know. Monday Night Raw ratings set a new record low. And you know me, if you've been listening to me, man, if you're an OG of the channel, you guys know that when the Raw rating is in the tank, I love it. Brings a smile to my face, man. Raw was terrible. Raw was absolutely terrible. Now, I mentioned on the podcast yesterday that I was going to go over the stern stance that I took on Angel Garza and Austin Theory and Drew McIntyre and Andrade Cien Almas and WWE burying their new stable. I even titled the Monday Night Raw review, How to Bury New Talent in 2 Weeks. Or How to Bury New Talent episode of Monday Night Raw. You know? I don't like when new talent gets buried. And I wouldn't say this is a true burial. It's not like a Ricochet burial. You know, we all know that he's buried. It's not like a Cedric Alexander burial. It's not like a Humberto Carrillo burial. But it's on its way to being a burial. Now, I don't want to talk in detail too much about what happened on Raw because it's Raw. And I think everybody kind of forgot it as soon as the show was over. But I want to take you guys back to the opening segment of Monday Night Raw. Drew McIntyre was in the ring. Andrade attacked him from behind. Drew McIntyre then took care of Andrade. And Zelina Vega, Austin Theory, and Angel Garza were standing in the aisle. And they were contemplating on what to do. Now, you got poor old Zelina Vega there. What is she realistically going to do? She's going to do the only thing that she can do, and that is yell at her guys, get in the ring. He just took out our boy. Go get him. It's 2-on-1. Angel Garza's looking at Theory. Theory's looking at Garza. You do it, bro. No. You do it, man. No. Esse, you do it, bro. These guys stood out there going back and forth like some fucking shitty comedy duo while Drew McIntyre's in the ring all by himself. All by himself. One man against two. You would think that these goons, these guys, would get in the ring and take care of Drew McIntyre 2-on-1. And then people are arguing with me, oh, it's not that big of a deal. They got to find ways to make Drew McIntyre look dominant. And then obviously nobody listens to what I say. Nobody listens to what I have to say. How dominant you want this guy to be when Drew McIntyre beat Brock Lesnar in 4 minutes at WrestleMania. Then he beats The Big Show at WrestleMania right after the match is over. What else do you need to do? I think you've already proved your point on how dominant Drew McIntyre is. Why does he need to look dominant in this way, on this night, in that fashion? It's as if they kind of gave up writing this segment halfway through. All right, we'll have the heels attack the babyface, but then they gave up. And then they just plugged in with the pen and paper. You know what, we'll make the heels act like pussies and just stand outside and not do anything, and then nobody will take them seriously from this point on. That's what I'm trying to get at. They didn't look good coming out of that segment. So I'd love for you to tell me what that is. I wouldn't say it's a legit burial, but it was a definite foreshadowing of what happened at the end of the show. They didn't want to get in the ring at the beginning of the show, but they got in the ring at the end of the show, and then they got fucking murdered at the end of the show. So you get these guys together in 2 weeks. They last 2 weeks. And then they get destroyed by one man. And then the cretins on social media, they're all saying to me, oh, but Drew McIntyre's got to look dominant. Why is it a burial when 3 guys were buried against, or 3 guys could not take out the WWE champion? They got to make him look good. Do you understand what the fuck you're talking about? I don't give a fuck if this guy's champion in every fucking promotion in the world. There's no situation in which you should book 3 guys to lose against 1. I don't give a fuck who it is. You fucking serious? You people sicken me, man. The people that justify this garbage absolutely sicken me. So now, Austin Theory, Angel Garza, and Andrade, he was on the road to irrelevancy anyway already. So now you got Garza and Austin Theory after Monday night. Nobody's going to take them serious as a heel faction. What is their purpose now? What is their purpose? To stand there and look like fucking fools? To look like pussies? To not want to get the job done? People are giving me every fucking excuse under the radar. Or under the moon. About Drew McIntyre. Oh, Andrade was in a match with the United States Championship against Drew McIntyre. I'm not talking about Andrade. Then they're trying to justify Angel Garza's in the main event of Monday Night Raw against the WWE Champion. Go back and watch the match and tell me how much of the match Angel Garza got in offense on Drew McIntyre. The guy didn't even take his fucking pants off. You fucking serious? You people gotta watch the show with a new set of eyes, man. Go borrow your fucking friend's eyes and watch this fucking show, because I think WWE is bringing you to a point where you're watching, you're just going, okay, and nobody's questioning anything that these people do. I don't get it. It's not a legit burial, but do you trust these people with new talents to get them over? I mean, just look at fucking Ricochet. Where the fuck is he at? Oh, he's in a tag team with Cedric Alexander. They're pushing him. Was that in the cards? You signed Ricochet to the WWE. You put Ricochet in NXT and make him be the biggest fucking guy to come out of that brand in a very long time. Shows up on Monday Night Raw challenging for the tag team titles in every which way across all 3 brands. Gets a WrestleMania spot with Aleister Black. And then what happened? You mean to tell me you signed Ricochet to be in a tag team with Cedric Alexander on Monday Night Raw? That's your grand plan for Ricochet? I don't get you people. Stop defending garbage. Because that's exactly what it is. Now, the Monday Night Raw rating. The Raw rating set a new record low. What else is new? The first to third hour drop of 11% is better than usual, says Meltzer. So they're doing a better job of keeping viewers who do tune in. The drop was 9% in women. Yeah, you could thank Nia Jax for that one. 9% in women, 18 to 49. And 10% in men, 18 to 49, while teenage boys and teenage girls increased as the show went on. Raw placed first in the 18 to 49 demo at 0.56, a number identical to last week. Raw was 27th overall, but finished only behind 90 Day Fiancé on TLC, 1.85 million viewers among non-news shows. Now, I never watched 90 Day Fiancé. I'm more of a Married at First Sight kind of guy. And man, if you guys watched the season finale of Married at First Sight here in Washington, D.C. Well, I'm not in Washington, D.C. The show was taking place in Washington, D.C. If you watched the finale of Married at First Sight in Washington, D.C., and you sat down with Kevin Frazier on that last show, and he interviewed, I think, Katie, and the guy that she was with, I forgot his fucking name. My God, man. Katie is fucking awful. She looks terrible coming out of that situation. She is the definition of a bitch. Why? I don't get it. So there's my guilty pleasure there. You found something out that you might not know about me. I watched Married at First Sight. Anyway, Raw was down 22%. Nah, I just ruined my fucking image. There you go. JD's a hard ass on social media. He's watching Married at First Sight. Raw drew 22% down from last year overall, and 37% down from last year in the 18 to 49 demo. But huge drops from last year at this point are unavoidable. Oh, really? Why don't you tell Vince McMahon that? Because that's not what he said on the conference call for the shareholders that we will go over a little bit later. Do you think Vince McMahon is a fucking mental case? Wait till you see what he said here on the conference call with his shareholders. Hours for Raw, 8 p.m., 9 points. 9 points, geez, they wish. 1.9 million viewers. 9 p.m. is 1.87, and 10 p.m. is 1.72. The average was 1.84. 1.84, folks, for WWE Raw. How the mighty continue to fall. Unbelievable. If they book better shows, maybe people would watch. Pandemic or no pandemic. They're not booking good shows. And who are they going to blame it on? They're going to blame the pandemic, or are they going to blame their champion? Are they going to blame the pandemic, or are they going to blame Drew McIntyre? Are they going to blame the pandemic, or are they going to blame the new talent that they're trying to get over? Yeah, some trying you did there on Monday, Vince. It took you little to no effort to bury the fucking stable of Zelina Vega. Where are you trying? Where are you trying? I would love for you to tell me how you're trying to get over new talent. If it's anything, you are trying to actively kill new talent on Monday Night Raw. Sarah Logan, irrelevant to everybody watching the show. Nobody gives a fuck about Sarah Logan. But apparently, Sarah Logan had a lot of people go to bat for her when she was terminated from WWE. Now, it turns out that Sarah Logan, one of just many WWE superstars who were released by the company last week in what was called Black Wednesday, was originally scheduled to make an appearance on Monday Night Raw. However, she was pulled at the last minute. Now, it's amazing. It's amazing to me how nobody looks at this and deems it to be fucked up. Sarah Logan was fired. Sarah Logan was wrongfully fired because WWE really didn't do anything to, I guess, give the fans a glimpse at to what she really could do. She was just there. She really didn't do anything with the fucking Riot Squad. She always played third wheel. Ruby was the leader. Liv Morgan was the best looking one out of all of them. And Sarah Logan was just there. Sarah Logan was just there. She went through this Kentucky Southern, I'm going to be on the farm with my tractor, and I'm going to milk some cows. That's exactly what she was doing. That's the gimmick she had, right? This old Southern girl down here with the pigs and the sheep. That's the gimmick she had. Then all of a sudden, you see her with war paint, and you see her with, fucked up hair and a new attire. All of a sudden, she goes from laying chicken eggs to wanting to be a Viking. So I don't know how the fans are supposed to, care when WWE didn't even give us a glimpse as to who she was. She just goes from one gimmick to the other. No video package, no background history on who Sarah Logan is or what she loves to do, her hobbies, what her influences are, nothing. She goes from milking fucking cows to wanting to take battle axes to everybody's head. It's unreal. And then nobody finds a problem with this. So she was fired. She was brought to Monday Night Raw to, I assume, do something with Shayna Baszler, because Shayna Baszler injured her arm in that Money in the Bank qualifier match. And then she was going to be on the show, and then WWE pulled her at the last minute. Can you imagine what Sarah Logan was thinking? Being fired, number one, then getting a phone call, hey, we want to bring you back just as fast. And then we're going to put you on Monday Night Raw. We're going to put you in the script. We're going to do something with you and Shayna Baszler. And then right before the show went on, you know what? We're not going to do anything with you. We're not going to do anything with you. How could anybody be okay with that? How could Sarah Logan be okay with that? Now, Dave Meltzer noted on the latest Wrestling Observer Live that the Sarah Logan spot was supposed to be a part of the show and was even in the script. It was in the script. That all changed once the show started and Logan was written off the show and not used. Now, during the broadcast, Logan's name was mentioned more on this one episode of Monday Night Raw than she has ever been mentioned in the history of Raw. The commentators brought up how she took on Shayna Baszler last week and how her arm broken, quote unquote. She didn't have a broken arm, it was just per storyline to get Shayna into the Money in the Bank and look like an intimidating figure going into that ladder match. Ruby Riott also mentioned her during a promo as Logan was the third member of the Riott Squad. Meltzer also noted that she has not been rehired by the company, and this is what he said on Wrestling Observer Live, and I quote, "So the deal is some of this talent and Drake Maverick is the other one. Since they're being paid for 90 days, some of them will continue to be booked." End quote. So, you know what I'm going to do? You know what I'm going to do if I'm said talent? Now, Drake Maverick is desperate, right? It's one of those situations where if I'm Sarah Logan and I'm seeing this on Monday, you get fired on Wednesday, you get called over the weekend, yeah, we're going to put you in the script on Raw, they fly you into Raw, or she just drove over from wherever she's living, right, in Orlando. Hopefully she is local. God forbid she had to fly. Go into the Performance Center, get dressed, get ready for your spot, memorize whatever lines that they're going to give you, go over what you're going to go over with Shayna Baszler and what you're going to do, and then told right before the show goes on the air that you're not going to be used. If I am Sarah Logan, I am giving these guys the biggest fuck you that I could possibly muster up just deep within my soul. Go fuck yourself. You brought me here for no fucking reason, and now you want me to be on call for you in the next 90 days because you're fucking paying me? Motherfucker, it's in my fucking contract to be paid for 90 days. I don't have to work for you. You didn't fucking give a shit about me when I was there. Now you want to use me that I'm not there? And then you want to do this to me. I would tell them, go fuck yourself. This is a blessing in disguise for Sarah Logan. And what would they do with Sarah Logan? Who gives a shit about Sarah Logan on WWE TV? You've done nothing to make anyone care about her. Oh, you're going to put her in a thing with Shayna Baszler. Who cares? Who cares? She's just going to end up like everybody else. And say if she does get rehired, what are they going to do? They're going to rehire her out of pity. They're not going to rehire her because they came up with this master plan about pushing Sarah Logan on WWE TV. I'll tell you what they should have did with Sarah Logan. Instead of wasting her and all of her talent and just wasting her spot on Monday Night Raw, what they really should have did was this woman actually loved what she did so much that she got into unbelievable shape. She don't even look the same. She's not even the same person as if you look at Sarah Logan when she was in the Riot Squad and look at her now, she don't look the same. She lost a lot of weight. She got fit. She's in the best shape of her entire career, Sarah Logan. And she did all of this to hopefully get pushed and be seen on WWE television and been given an opportunity on WWE television. What they should have did is when she came back and we seen her, you know, and all the hours that she put into getting herself in shape, they should have put her with the Viking Raiders because she's married to Ro of the Viking Raiders. Why didn't you put her, as soon as she went Viking, as soon as she changed that gimmick from country to Viking, why you didn't put her with the Viking Raiders? I don't understand. Now we got Sarah Logan fired. They're using her because they're paying her, well, terminated, for a 90-day clause that's already in her fucking contract. Go fuck yourself. And the Viking Raiders are now playing carpool karaoke on Monday Night Raw while they're eating chicken legs. I don't believe this fucking company. Yet the Vince McMahon wonders why the ratings are down. You fucking serious? If this is how negligent you are with the fucking talent, what do you expect from the ratings? Unbelievable. As far as Drake Maverick goes, seems like it's a pity party for Drake Maverick. I gave a shit about Drake Maverick when he posted that video on social media. I felt for him. Now WWE's putting it on television, using him in his storyline. Who do you think is going to benefit from that one? WWE is going to get what they want and make this tournament about Drake Maverick. It's going to bring some intrigue to the tournament. Meanwhile, Drake Maverick's not going to win a fucking match in this tournament, and then he's going to be out of a fucking job. So what are they doing as far as Drake Maverick? They're taking his real-life fucking just sadness, and they're exploiting it on TV for their own good. Meanwhile, it does him no good. He's not getting his job back Because that would stir up a whole new fucking can of worms that WWE doesn't want or doesn't need. Because why the fuck would they rehire Drake Maverick back outside of a Heath Slater and a Rusev or a No Way Jose or an EC3? Why the fuck would they hire or rehire Drake Maverick over those guys? What the fuck does he have that they don't? Can't do that. Everybody's fired, they stay fired. So WWE is only using Drake Maverick on TV to benefit themselves, and meanwhile, he's fucking upset that he's not going to have a job after 90 days. Whatever. I watched his match with Jake Atlas. It wasn't anything all that special. I could see why they fucking released him. The guy sucks. So that's that. Speaking of sucks, my goodness, man. Take a sip of my beverage. I'm heated. Jinder Mahal. Jinder Mahal! Jinder, cleared and waiting to return to the WWE. I am waiting to shit all over the first segment Jinder Mahal appears in. Former WWE... Oh. Man, I just had lunch before I sat down to record. I was going to vomit all my fucking lunch up. I swear to God, I can't even read this sentence. Former WWE... I can't finish the sentence, man. Jinder Mahal cleared and waiting to make his return after being out of action since June 2019 after suffering a ruptured patella tendon. Now, Jinder Mahal was reached out to by WrestlingRumors.net for an update on his status following the mass releases of the company last Wednesday. And now it is being reported that he is ready to return. Oh, great. When you think the shows can't get any worse, man, Jinder Mahal is going to be back on television. Now, at first, it was expected to be November of last year where Mahal would come back. And lucky us, he never showed up. And then that didn't happen. And then everybody thought he would be making a comeback in the Royal Rumble. That didn't happen either. And we were all happy. We were all right, maybe they're going to fire him. Maybe they're going to let him go. Neither of those things happened, and the man who literally ruined SmackDown Live, brought SmackDown Live into the worst state it could possibly ever be in, he won the WWE title from Randy Orton at Backlash 2017, and he has still not appeared since June. Before his absence, he was mostly used in the 24/7 championship, and having held that belt twice, as mentioned, a former WWE champion, former United States champion. He was a former WWE champion, yet he was competing for the 24/7 championship. So if you expect me to forget that, WWE, and then you want to put this guy in a feud with fucking Drew McIntyre for the WWE title, I'm waiting for that moment to happen on Raw. His last match on the broadcast was a 51-man battle royal won by Mansoor at Super Showdown 2019, which was followed by a house show against Mustafa Ali 8 days later, which was the match he suffered the patella tendon injury. Let me go back and read what I said. What does this report say? Neither of these happened. Obviously, he didn't come back at the Royal Rumble. He didn't come back in November before the Survivor Series. And the man who shocked the world by winning the WWE title from Randy Orton at Backlash 2017 has still not appeared since June. Okay. I thought I read it wrong. He hasn't appeared since June of 2019. I was a little confused. So I wish he would stay out. Jinder Mahal, and adding Jinder Mahal back to television is absolutely going to make these shows worse. The guy sucks. His title reign absolutely crippled, and I mean crippled, SmackDown when it was still on the USA Network. Jinder Mahal should have never been the WWE champion. I don't know who the fuck made that decision. I don't know who thinks that was the right call. I don't know who thinks he's the quintessential WWE champion. These people think that he is. I don't know. I look at Jinder Mahal and I see nobody that even should be on a active roster in this company. He is that terrible. And now that he's been gone and he's been out, why do you expect people to care about him? Seriously. Jinder Mahal is going to be just as good as The Miz in front of no audience. Now, Jinder Mahal, I got to give him his fair share of credit, just a little bit. when he won that, what was it, a 5-pack, 6-pack challenge or something. He pinned Sami Zayn to even become the number one contender when all that shit went down. The promo he cut was fantastic. I remember that like it was yesterday. The promo he cut was fucking great. The fans were shitting on him. It was like, oh my God, this is great stuff. And then all of a sudden, it went downhill faster than you could fucking breathe. It went downhill. But this guy does not belong on television. God forbid, I've been preaching it, I've been saying it, I've been fucking having nightmares about it. When Drew McIntyre gets done with Seth Rollins, who else is there on Monday Night Raw to go one-on-one with Drew McIntyre? It's going to be Jinder Mahal, folks. I believe Jinder Mahal was still on Monday Night Raw when he had gotten injured. So what if WWE does you know what? Drew McIntyre's got no challenges for the WWE Championship. Why don't we have a battle of 3MB? On Monday Night Raw. Yeah, that's really going to bring in the fucking ratings. Give me a break, folks. Jinder Mahal cleared and waiting, and I'll be waiting to shit all over WWE even more so when he does return. Backstage news on why Lana and Liv Morgan storyline, their lesbian storyline, was dropped from Monday Night Raw. On Sunday's Wrestling Observer Live, Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez mentioned the Lana and Liv Morgan storyline and that angle while discussing the angle between Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. Deville has expressed to the people in the company that she wanted to do a storyline that leads to her having a crush on Mandy Rose. Based on how things played out on TV in recent weeks, it looks like WWE is not going in that direction. Meltzer noted that a lesbian angle appeared to be in the cards for Lana and Liv Morgan last December, but Paul Heyman had no intention for the part of the angle to continue. Let me repeat that, folks, because if it didn't make sense to you, it certainly doesn't. It's not you. It's WWE. Paul Heyman had no intention for that part of the angle to continue. Then why the fuck was it on television? If you did not intend for the angle to continue, you certainly left it fucking open. If you had no intention for the angle to continue, why were we given the angle in the first place to make a fucking embarrassment and a mockery of pro wrestling in the month of December when you guys are clearly on fucking Christmas vacation for the entire month? If you thought that was good television, you got another thing fucking coming. That shit was terrible. Absolutely deplorable. Fucking awful. Meltzer said, and I quote, "From what I was told, it was Paul looking for a spot in the wedding thing to pop people, but there was no plan to follow up on it." Oh, so this is their mentality. Paul Heyman, like I mentioned fucking months ago, this is the guy that Vince McMahon's got writing and in charge of Monday Night Raw. This is what the Vince McMahon mentality is, folks. You would think that Paul Heyman, the genius that he is going to undertake the responsibilities on Monday Night Raw and actually plan for the future and plan as far as long-term booking goes. This is what Vince McMahon does. No plan to follow up on it, merely doing something for the sake of a pop and a ratings pop and a fan pop, and that's it. We'll worry about something else next week. This is Paul Heyman. This is why Vince McMahon had groomed Paul Heyman for this spot on Monday Night Raw. Paul Heyman is nothing more than a puppet. Paul Heyman is there because he is yesing Vince McMahon to death, and Vince McMahon is never going to put anybody in charge of creative and have them have a majority stake in creative on the show unless they are the same type of mentality that he is. Paul Heyman has been behind the scenes longer than anybody, just as long as anybody, so he knows how this company and how Vince operates. If he was really for us, we would see something else happen on this show. We would be seeing something more to Monday Night Raw. Monday Night Raw is just as bad as it's always been. It's just new faces and a new setting and a pandemic that we're going through. It's the same shit, you know? New faces and NXT guys being called up isn't really going to add to making Monday Night Raw better. If they're not being booked and not being taken care of and they're not being groomed for the future. If you're not really giving me anything of excitement, if nothing makes sense, there's no logic, losses and wins don't matter. Storylines are all over the fucking place. Stop, start. Women's divisions, that's fucking god-awful. Tag team division, that doesn't even fucking exist. How does this show look to you? How is this a good show on Monday night? I don't get it. I don't understand people's logic. If the angle was never to continue, why the fuck were we given the angle in the first place? Oh, that's right, you wanted to embarrass Lana and Rusev on their eventual way out of the company. Lana was smart. Lana signed a 5-year deal. That doesn't make WWE smart, because I wouldn't give that woman anything close to 5 years. And Rusev is going to have a resurgence of a career now that he's not tied down to WWE. But why did we get it if it wasn't meant to continue? Heyman also did this with Beulah McGillicuddy and Francine in ECW to get a reaction from the crowd, and the storyline was never followed up on. I mean, if that's what Heyman is doing on Monday Night Raw, that really doesn't give me a good feeling about what Heyman wants to do with Monday Night Raw. If anything, Heyman should be the opposite. Heyman's falling into the Vince McMahon bullshit. Heyman, according to everybody, should be the savior of this fucking show. Meanwhile, I'm not seeing anything close to what everybody is talking about. The storyline between Lana and Bobby Lashley versus Morgan and Rusev fizzled out in January, and Rusev, because of a contract dispute, was taken off the television. That right there. I mean, the guy was unhappy before this fucking wedding angle took place. You weren't even fucking using him. What did you expect for him to think when you put him in this shit? And then he goes on social media and shills himself like a fucking idiot. Oh, I'm on TV. I'm on TV. I'm in the most popular storyline on WWE television. Really? If it was so popular, the ratings would have been more than a 1.9 for your wedding. Give me a fucking break. Lana and Bobby Lashley, Morgan and Rusev was supposed to happen at the Royal Rumble, mixed tag team match, contract dispute, taken off TV. Rusev was part of the roster cuts this past week, and WWE is already teasing that Lana and Lashley are about to break up. Thank you for wasting my fucking time for the entire month of November and December. Awesome stuff. NXT women's title is not being defended at Money in the Bank. Oh, really? That's a good thing. It's a good thing. You want to know why, folks? Number one, it's Charlotte Flair. The pay-per-view that she's not on, I'm more interested in. Number two, it's the NXT Women's Championship, meaning that it should be defended on NXT. Now, for all the cretins out there that are going to tell me, oh, well, if you put it on the main roster shows, it's going to bring more value to the title. It's going to get the title over. Oh, really? Really, I look at it the opposite way. Because if that was the case, and say WWE had an NXT title match on a Raw or on a pay-per-view for the main roster, wouldn't those people see that Charlotte is the NXT Women's Champion and then maybe watch NXT on Wednesday when she is getting into a major program on Wednesday on NXT against one of their women on NXT? And that doesn't end up being the case, right? So what is the purpose of A, Charlotte having the title, and B, this title being defended on a main roster show? This is why, let's go back and rant about the reason why Rhea Ripley should have undoubtedly defeated Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. What is the purpose of Charlotte Flair holding the women's championship? The illogical, simple-minded buffoon is going to say, oh, Charlotte Flair is going to bring prestige and value to the NXT Women's Championship. I don't look at it that way. I don't. Rhea Ripley lost everything in that one match. What did she get? She got a great match out of Charlotte Flair. Who's going to remember the great match? You're going to go back and watch that great match? I know I'm not. I'm not going to watch that match ever again. I don't give a fuck. Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair had a great match at WrestleMania, and that's all it was. The match, no matter how great it was soiled by a shit ending. The outcome was not right. Charlotte won the title, okay? Io Shirai wins a women's Money in the Bank ladder match on NXT a couple of weeks ago. So Charlotte is now appearing on Raw and appearing on NXT, appearing on Raw and appearing on NXT. Charlotte having the title not only killed Rhea Ripley, but you are about to see the entire burial of the women's roster of NXT. I don't see how this is good for anybody. And what if Charlotte Flair runs through Io, runs through Mia, which she will. She runs through everybody Chelsea Green. She runs through everybody on NXT's women's roster, and then eventually gets to Rhea Ripley again. When do you expect that match to happen? If they hold it on an NXT show, what good does that do for Rhea Ripley to beat Charlotte Flair on an NXT show? It means nothing. All I look at when I see that is she should have never lost the title in the first place. She should have beat and retained the title at WrestleMania. Rhea Ripley gains nothing by beating Charlotte Flair on an NXT show. Rhea Ripley gains nothing by beating Charlotte Flair on a main roster show. It doesn't matter. Well, JD, why doesn't it matter at that point? Well, if Rhea Ripley beats Charlotte Flair on a takeover or an NXT show, who is it going to be in front of? It should have happened at your biggest show when all of the casuals' eyes were on that night. Rhea Ripley should have been put over as the next star in the making on WrestleMania night. If it happens in a rematch at a takeover, who the fuck is going to watch? It's going to be like 1/100th of the fucking audience that you had at WrestleMania. So right then and there, it doesn't make sense. If Rhea Ripley beats Charlotte Flair for the NXT Women's Championship at SummerSlam, then you're asking yourself the question, at that point, Charlotte Flair ran through the entire division. If Rhea Ripley's the champion, who is she going to defend the title against? If Charlotte beat everybody, made everybody seem irrelevant and like nobodies, who's Rhea Ripley? Who's going to be left for Rhea Ripley to defend that title against? You're making out everybody to be nobody for Charlotte Flair, but when Rhea Ripley gets the championship, who's going to be that next in line? There will be nobody because Charlotte will have toppled them all. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me. Now, I know I think differently, but I mean, if I'm a promoter and I'm looking at those situations, I don't know why these things aren't being brought up in creative meetings. I really don't. Am I really sitting on an island all to myself when I talk about this shit? Or are people really agreeing with what I'm saying? Because you look on social media and you become dumber by the fucking second reading these people's tweets. Rhea Ripley was buried at WrestleMania. Great match. Who the fuck cares? She should have walked out with the title. She didn't. Now she's off TV. We haven't seen her since. Oh, it's all building to a rematch. Who gives a fuck? WrestleMania is your biggest show. That was her one opportunity to show everybody how bright her star is, and she faded. No matter if it was a 5-star match, a 4-star match, a fucking 10-star match. I don't give a shit. It should have happened there, and it did not. So the women's title's not being defended at Money in the Bank. Good. Good. We don't want to see Charlotte Flair on Money in the Bank. Now, the other women's title that I don't think is going to be defended at Money in the Bank is Becky Lynch's Raw Women's title. Now, we don't have a match for Becky Lynch. We don't have a legit opponent for Becky Lynch. This is the current card for Money in the Bank, folks. The women's ladder match is Nia Jax, Asuka, Shayna Baszler, and Dana Brooke, with 2 more spots to be given out. I believe we had Lacey Evans versus Sasha Banks on SmackDown. And then we might get there's 3 Raw. So it's probably going to be another 2 SmackDown women. We got 3 Raw women and 3 SmackDown women. So there you go. Who else is left on Monday night? What are they going to have? Becky Lynch defend the title against Liv Morgan at the pay-per-view? Nobody wants to see that. Nobody gives a shit about that. That's an inevitable loss for Liv Morgan. What I think they're going to do is I think they're going to hold off on the Women's Championship for Raw at Money in the Bank. Shayna's going to win the Money in the Bank and then eventually cash in that night and give Becky Lynch a match and win the title, like she should have did at WrestleMania. That's my prediction for the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match and Becky Lynch. So the rest of the card is as follows. Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins, Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman, Daniel Bryan, Aleister Black, Apollo Crews, and Rey Mysterio have all qualified for the Men's Money in the Bank, and Bayley versus Tamina for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Bathroom break. That's what that match tells me. Bathroom break. Anything with Tamina is unwatchable. So that's that. NXT Women's title and the Monday Night Raw Women's title, as of right now, will not be defended at Money in the Bank. Talked a lot about WrestleMania, folks, and Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. The best thing to come out of WrestleMania to me was the Boneyard match with AJ Styles and The Undertaker in the main event of Night 1. We have Triple H talking about Vince McMahon not knowing what a Boneyard match would actually be. Now, WWE superstar and EVP of Global Talent Strategy and Development, because he got a demotion according to the geeks out there, Triple H, appeared on Corey Graves' After the Bell podcast. Triple H would discuss a variety of topics, just illustrating his 25-year career, being that we got the celebration of 25 years of Triple H on SmackDown. Most notably, he would talk about the logistical issues surrounding this year's WrestleMania event, and specifically how he filmed the Boneyard Match between AJ Styles and The Undertaker. He says, and I quote, "Mania was taking place prior to WrestleMania at that point." Triple H began. "A lot of things were taking place at the same time. So when we got done shooting NXT television, I then went to events and I was like, I feel like if there's something I can do and I can take and run with it, I want to. That would probably be the most helpful. Because everybody's going to be running in different directions, and what do you think needs the most for me to look at? I guess is a way of saying it." And Vince was like, "The Boneyard Match." Because Vince didn't know what a Boneyard Match was, according to Triple H. Triple H then would discuss how McMahon actually had no idea what a Boneyard Match would even be or what a Boneyard Match should even look like. So I wanna stop right there. They booked the Boneyard Match at WrestleMania. Obviously, after everything had happened, they were already in the empty arenas at this point. They booked a Boneyard Match, and look, this is a glimpse, an inside look at the way these people operate. They booked a match, a stipulation, like a Boneyard Match, without even knowing what it was when they announced it. So why would you announce something if you already don't have an idea of how it's going to be? I don't get it. This company is notorious for doing things backwards. I was like, okay, great. What is the Boneyard Match? Then Vince is like, I don't know. He was like, a graveyard. It's in a graveyard. And I said, okay. As we go, I said, what do you want it to be? And then he tells Triple H, and I quote, "I don't know. Just make it good. Just make it good," he says. So that was the Boneyard Match, folks. Vince didn't know what the fuck it needed to be. And then when Triple H asked, "It's a graveyard. It's a graveyard." Okay. What do you want it to be? Vince is like, "I don't know. Just make it good." Unreal. Unreal. And this is the man in charge of a multi-billion-dollar company. Just make it good. So Triple H would go on to finish discussing how he only had one camera when they began shooting, with Vince McMahon giving the green light for more resources to be issued to them on location. I then went to Vince and was like, I pitched him the concept and the idea, and he's like, "I love that. That sounds awesome." Then I said, "Well, problem is right now, I have one camera." He's like, "You can't do it with one camera?" And I'm like, "I know." Triple H's solution would be to use the NXT digital team, including Jeremy Borash, to create the cinematic feel of the Boneyard Match. Obviously, we all know, if you guys are in tune with what's going on in the community and how everything came to be with Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy always credited Jeremy Borash for the cinematic feel of the deletion matches, and that's what that was. He used Jeremy Borash, and Triple H is very lucky to have someone as talented as Jeremy Borash on his team. The Boneyard Match was obviously the main attraction of WrestleMania on both nights, arguably one of the most original and unique main events in WrestleMania history. With seemingly universal praise for the concept, it is likely that we may see more of this in the future from WWE, not only just in the WWE. I think this may be the way forward for The Undertaker as he ends his career, because I can't see him going another 2-3 years. The Undertaker really wants to go out on his own and have that real legacy that was kind of tarnished still remain. I think matches like this are going to be The Undertaker's forte. Because I don't think anybody wants to see The Undertaker, a 54-year-old Undertaker, in the ring, just decrepit and not being able to walk and not being able to give us a match like we all know The Undertaker could absolutely deliver back when he was healthy and younger. So, Triple H talking about Vince McMahon not knowing what a Boneyard Match would actually be. I don't know, just make it good, he says. This is the man that's in charge of creative on Monday Night Raw. I don't know, he says. I don't know either. I really don't. Triple H also went on to comment about WrestleMania being 2 nights, being that he was talking about the Boneyard Match. Triple H commented on WrestleMania being 2 nights from now on the same podcast with Corey Graves. He says this, and I quote, "Well, I mean, my opinion is my opinion, but I think it was much more enjoyable than the 8-hour extravaganza. I think at some point that is probably what it should be. It's just become so big. When you think about it in a way, it started out as a concert that ended up being a festival, and it's this week-long thing. When you think about it in that manner, now you know that Thursday would have been the Hall of Fame, Friday would have been SmackDown, Saturday would be TakeOver, NXT, Sunday would have been WrestleMania, and Monday would have been Raw. It's a week-long festival, and I think that big main stage attraction needs to be those 2 nights. It'll be the weekend of events." That's what he says. He would go on to continue and say that I do think that's probably a change that out of the chaos comes the genius, and maybe that is the genius of it. I know there's been people saying that for a period of time, but that's a major shift, and it doesn't come easy. I think people in the world look at that stuff like that. They go, why don't they just make it 2 nights? Yeah, because that's really easy. There you go, 2 nights. But there obviously is more to that. With WWE renting out the building for 2 nights, and are they going to be able to fit 70, 80,000 people in both of those shows, on both of those nights? Because I know New Japan went the 2-show route. I think they did 40,000 on night 1 for Wrestle Kingdom in January, and then they did somewhere around 30,000 for night 2. WWE doesn't want to have 80,000 people jam-packed on a Saturday night and then have 50,000 people jam-packed on a Sunday. Now, do I think they are able to fill out that arena for both nights? Yes, I absolutely do. I don't know the logistics of it. So it's in our right as a community and as a fan base to say it should be 2 nights. Because WWE should be not only in business for themselves, obviously to make themselves money, but they should be in the business of looking out for what is in the best interest of the fans. And if an 8-hour show is vehemently fucking shit on every single year, the one complaint about WrestleMania every single year is the fact that it's too fucking long. What was the one complaint this year about WrestleMania? Just because it was an empty arena and it shouldn't have been going on, and overall the matches were just fucking terrible. Out of 18 matches or so, there were 5 matches that really stood out. Not really what I call a thumbs-up show. So I honestly think at the end of all of this, WrestleMania 36 will be one of the worst WrestleManias of all time, with a few star-studded performances thrown about. But the one positive out of all of it, no matter what was terrible on the show, no matter if there was no fans and it was a stripped-down house show being called WrestleMania, the one positive that came out of all of it, every single podcast I listened to said these shows were far more enjoyable at 3.5 hours, 4 hours than they would be at 8 hours. So why doesn't WWE try and do that for the WrestleManias in the future? I don't get it. Now, what it really should be, it should be starting from Raw. You got Monday Night Raw, you got the go-home show. You got the go-home show from Monday Night Raw. Then you would have NXT. Okay? You would have NXT on Wednesday, Raw on Monday, SmackDown on Friday. In between, you plug the rest of the shows. Hall of Fame, I would move the Hall of Fame away from WrestleMania, and I would do it at SummerSlam. That's the way I would do it. Move, because that's exactly what they're planning on doing this year. Couldn't have a Hall of Fame this year, so why not move it to SummerSlam? It gives SummerSlam an even bigger feel with the Hall of Fame. Now, yeah, Hall of Fame, WrestleMania kind of goes hand in hand, but, you know, just the way the WWE current schedule is, it's all right if you maneuver one of those things, which the Hall of Fame is one of the more unimportant things of the WrestleMania weekend. WWE would still be able to make money off of it if they moved it to SummerSlam, so what is the big fucking deal? Monday Night Raw on Monday, NXT on Wednesday, TakeOver on Thursday, SmackDown on Friday, WrestleMania on Saturday and Sunday, and then you got Monday Night Raw after Mania on Monday. Very simple. Very simple. I think a lot of people would love that. I really do. That's the way I would plan it out and map it out going forward. But Triple H says WrestleMania should be 2 nights from now on. Is Triple H and his opinion going to really become a reality? I don't think so, folks, because it was reported that WrestleMania 37 by Dave Meltzer will be a one-night event. Ha! Oh, man. I got you with that one, didn't I? I got you with that one. I had to do it. WrestleMania 37 will be a one-night event. Now, I don't understand how they could even possibly think. I mean, you don't think people are going to shit all over WWE for their, oh, it's too big for one night bullshit. It was too big for one night in the Performance Center at WrestleMania 36. And you're going to be going to WrestleMania 37 being one night. So I'm guessing WrestleMania 37 in front of, hopefully, fans at a brand new SoFi Stadium and 100,000 people is not going to be bigger than the WrestleMania that was too big for one night. By default, you're automatically downsizing WrestleMania 37 in comparison to WrestleMania 36. So there's WWE's conundrum with that catchphrase. It needs to be two nights. But Meltzer is reporting that WrestleMania right now, in the plans, it will be a 8-hour show over one night with WrestleMania 37. He says, and I quote, as of right now, the plan for next year is just a Sunday show in Los Angeles. So it would be the regular schedule. Monday Night Raw, go home. NXT, go home on Wednesday. Friday Night SmackDown, go home. We would have the Hall of Fame on Thursday, TakeOver on Saturday, and then WrestleMania on Sunday. I don't really look forward to that at all. I cannot. After watching, listen, I barely got through WrestleMania this year. After watching it in the time that it was allotted on Saturday and Sunday, I don't know if I could go back and watch an 8-hour show. I can't do it. I can't do it. And I don't understand how WWE expects people to do it either. I really don't. They should really be in the market for taking care of their fans. For once in a fucking blue moon, take care of the fucking fans. Everybody raved about the length of the shows. Everybody. And now they're going to go back to doing the same old next year? If there is even a WrestleMania next year? Come on. They got to do better than that. So Meltzer is saying, as of right now, it is a Sunday show in Los Angeles. I am not looking forward to that whatsoever. Finally, guys, we'll end with this before we get into all of the other stuff, including the NXT, AEW news, and then the conference call news and notes from the shareholders conference call that Vince McMahon overseen. Triple H talked about Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa and their cinematic match at Full Sail University. So he was on the After the Bell podcast with Corey Graves, and Triple H discussed the Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa cinematic empty arena match, and he said this, and I quote, the funny thing with Ciampa Gargano was that it was shot prior to the Boneyard Match at WrestleMania. So this was the first match filmed cinematic for WrestleMania. When we realized there was going to be no takeover just because of the way everything was laid out, I was like, man, I want to put on some of these matches on TV because who knows when we're going to get to be able to do that. Nobody even knew there was going to be shows on the other side of WrestleMania. So that's immediately what he was thinking. He went into further detail and mentioned that he wanted to have a definitive end to this feud in particular. That was one we wanted to just kind of get done and be done with that storyline. So we could move on and move everybody on in their directions and make it different. The concept was come up with something different, something cinematic, so to speak, and shot with a similar team as the Boneyard Match. But as it came closer, all the other options of doing it kept getting shut down. The game then discussed how plans to film the match kept getting pushed back, mainly because the deadline of getting WrestleMania 36 filmed and edited. You're having all of these changes because everything is changing. There's WrestleMania 36 and everything else is working backwards around that. So Ciampa Gargano kept getting moved down the line in the pecking order. But I was very happy with the match and very proud of the match. The funny thing is that I think by the time we got to the Gargano-Ciampa match, everybody was already at the point of these cinematic matches are getting overdone. Triple H then finished by revealing that the whole match was shot in one take. Unbelievable. Shot in one take. That he and Shawn Michaels were extremely happy with that outcome. I'll tell you what, those two, that was done in one shot. We just put a crew in there, and they just went at it. So like they would have done in the arena, with probably 5 of us sitting over there, all separated, and the crew and just 2 of them in the ring. They just went at it, had the match, and the fan in me just sat there and was like, they're going to beat the crap out of each other. It was unbelievable. Shawn Michaels and I were like 2 little kids, just watching it. End quote. And the reason why he says that, a lot of that happiness comes from, the fact that he's proud of both Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa and where they came from, the fact that they are so talented to even do that, the fact that those guys are associated with the brand he's overseeing. But it's also, when he says that he's sitting there with Shawn Michaels smiling and they're just 2 little kids watching Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa beat the shit out of each other, because when they watch Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa beat the shit out of each other, they're watching mirror images of themselves back 20 years ago. That's exactly why they're smiling and they're all giddy and they're all hands-on and they're all fucking loving the outcome and this and that. Because when they watch these guys, they're watching themselves. Anybody would feel that way. Anybody would feel that way. They've been so hands-on with this storyline for its duration that, of course, they feel that way. Now, I think deep down, when Triple H goes on a show like that, he's got to remain positive because it's a WWE-produced podcast, and obviously he's, in a position of power. He's not going to say anything that we're thinking, or he's not going to say anything that we're feeling. But I'm telling you, man, I would bet the house, the kids, the dog, the wife, the car, everything, man, on if Triple H was to really tell you, was he completely happy with the outcome of Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa? Does he look at that and really find it to be the ending to this fairy tale that we've all been on a journey with? And the answer would be no. He they say last match ever. I don't think so. I don't think so. And I don't think Triple H believes that either. Because those are 2 guys that could literally fight forever. I'm not looking at that as their last match ever. And I don't think Triple H is doing that either. In no way, shape, or form is Triple H looking at that match and it being the end of Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. Because after all that's been done, and the story where it should have been last year, to where Ciampa got hurt, got surgery, came back, they redid it with the roles reversed, and then we got the pandemic hitting, when these guys were supposed to go out in front of a real crowd, in front of a packed arena and do that. I don't think that's the vision that Triple H wants to really have it be the end. That's just my take on it. But the fact that it was shot in one take, that's new to me. That really even makes me appreciate it even more. And appreciate them even more. I love that match. I really did. At first, I was like, man, I can't get over the fact that it's on NXT TV. I can't get over the fact that I'm watching a fucking 1-hour classic between these 2 guys. Cinematic. And they pulled it off, and they did it so brilliantly that I got to sit through this thing and sit through 6 commercial breaks. It was awful. That was really a downer for me. That was a down point to the entire match. But did I love it? Yeah. It should have been what Randy Orton and Edge should have been at WrestleMania. And I do think we're going to see more cinematic matches in WWE. And Triple H is right. It's going to be one of those things where a lot of people, if they keep doing it, and the Money in the Bank is going to be the next one. Apparently, that's going to be cinematic as well. The women's and the men's Money in the Bank ladder matches are going to be filmed in a very cinematic way. People are going to be bringing that up again. And WWE, I appreciate them branching out and going outside the box, but people are going to start talking. It's going to be something that's going to be talked about as being overdone. But they don't really have any other choice. I would rather watch one match on a pay-per-view that's filmed like that in this time that we're sitting in right now with the pandemic than watch it be like something we see on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown on Fox. So I'm not going to really complain about it. All I say is let's continue doing it because it brings a fresh, different approach to the WWE product that we all know is formulaic, stale, and just ordinary. WWE isn't doing anything new, different, exciting, and fresh right now with their empty arena shows. It's the same shit. It's boring. It's depressing. So if they have a different take on the cinematics with the Money in the Bank and something like Gargano and Ciampa, or if a feud calls for it somewhere down the line, I'm going to be for it because I would rather watch that than watch what we've been given on Monday and Friday. So that is Triple H. That is After the Bell. I wanted to get that in the podcast, and let me know what you guys think about that down below. All right, man. We reached the halfway point here on OTS for Saturday, episode 323. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me here and supporting the show. Let's talk about some AEW and NXT. NXT had a 2-week winning streak in the ratings on Wednesday night. That is no more. Dynamite wins this week's ratings war, if you even want to call it that. Nowadays, I don't think it really matters anymore anyway. This week's episode of Dynamite on TNT averaged 731,000 viewers, up 7% from last week's show. It was the biggest number since March 25th for Dynamite. In the important 18 to 49 demo, Dynamite averaged the same 0.25 rating that they did last week. The show landed in 24th place on cable for the night in that category. After beating Dynamite in total viewers for the last couple of weeks, this week's NXT on the USA Network averaged 665,000 viewers. That's down 4% from last week. In the 18 to 49 demo, NXT was actually up 6%, averaging 0.18 in the rating. The show made its way back into the top 50 rankings on cable, finishing 50, right in that 50th position on the night in cable. Among non-news related programming, AEW finished 11th on cable and NXT was 22nd. The only demo that NXT won was the senior citizens over 50. Hey, honey, can you go get my prune juice? I gotta watch Kushida. You know, because the grandmas out there love Cameron Grimes, too. Or maybe the grandmas love Jake Atlas. The new Jake Atlas on NXT in the Cruiserweight Tournament. The two shows tied in females for 12 to 34. AEW won every other category. In males, 12 to 34, AEW more than doubled NXT with a 0.14 rating to NXT's 0.06. And I thought NXT was the better show. I really did. I'm loving the Cruiserweight Tournament. I thought the match with Tony Nese and Kushida was fucking fantastic. I love that WWE is using Dexter Lumis on WWE TV. I think he's great. His presence is so fucking perfect, man. Everything about Dexter Lumis, he's very good in the ring. I want to see more of what he could actually do, but what I seen in that tag team match with Dream and the Undisputed Era, the guy is really fucking good. His body language, his mannerisms, his facial expressions, his look. I mean, it's that mustache. That mustache just gives everything that vibe, dude. He's got that psychotic vibe down to a T. He is so good. So good. I want to see what they do with Dexter Lumis moving forward. Now, the thing is, when Dexter Lumis was on NXT TV way back when he was in the breakout tournament, he lost and did not advance to the second round. The crowd really didn't take to him. They were, I wouldn't say they didn't really take to him, but they were like, what the fuck is this? Who is this guy? They were legitimately creeped out by him. The way he slithers on the mat, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So I'm glad that Dexter Lumis is on TV. You know, Drake Maverick and his story, WWE, you know, this is how WWE operates. They are so desperate for anything. They're using Drake Maverick's real-life fucking emotions in this thing, knowing that he's not going to get a job back. His viral video on Twitter, he posted something in real time, real emotion, real hurt, real tears, got over 1.5 million views on Twitter the day it was, you know, Black Wednesday, the day it was released on Twitter, on his social media. And now WWE is using that simply because it got so much social media traction. It went viral. They want to use it as a real-life element in their Cruiserweight tournament, and they know they're not going to give him a job back. He's going to lose every match he's in that tournament. It's not going to really benefit anything as far as Drake Maverick goes, so he's still going to be out of a job. WWE is using him, and he's not getting anything back from WWE. He's going to get 90-day and then termination. That's all he's going to get. So maybe he goes over to AEW and joins EC3. Who the fuck knows? But I thought NXT was great. I wanted to see Finn Balor versus the Velveteen Dream. Clearly, that is not the case. Balor was taken out, and I think it was Dexter Lumis. So we'll see what happens with that, because it was supposed to be Balor and Dream. I'm not sold on a Dream Adam Cole match. They went the typical main roster route. They had Dream pin Adam Cole in the tag team match. Dexter Lumis did the job. Dream got the Purple Rainmaker on Adam Cole and got the pin on the world champion. So they're going to book that match with that situation there. I'm not completely sold on it yet because I want the Dream to be in a full-fledged crowd before anything happens with him winning the world championship. If it happens in an empty arena, I'm not going to like it. I don't think he's at that point yet. For some reason, I just don't think he's at that point yet. And I don't think Adam Cole kind of deserves that either. You know, he's had a great title reign. And for him to drop the title, I guess we don't know when it's going to happen, when we're going to be back in front of live audiences, but I don't want to see it happen that way. I really don't. You know, I guess Drew McIntyre beat Brock Lesnar, so why not Dream beating Adam Cole for the NXT title? But I'm just, for some reason, I'm just not sold on it. I don't know what it is. I'm just not sold on it yet. Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae cut a great promo at their house. They were having dinner, how underappreciated they are, how they are the good guys, and everybody else is just fucking a complete bizarre sicko. You know, this is what we've been doing. We've been giving our life, our blood, our soul to these people, and they don't appreciate anything. Candice LeRae looked just very eviled out with her makeup. I don't know if she's going to be challenging for the NXT Women's Championship. I would love if Candice LeRae is built up as the number one contender for Charlotte Flair and takes the title from Charlotte Flair. I think that would be great. They're already talking about, they're teasing Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae, the first couple in NXT history to have the World Championship and the NXT Women's Championship, the first power couple of NXT. That would be great. And being that they love Johnny Gargano, I can absolutely see that happening. So we'll see what happens with that. But I thought NXT was the much better show over Dynamite. And if you guys want my thoughts on Dynamite, obviously I got the review on the channel. Go and check it out. Make sure you guys go and hit that up if you missed yesterday's, or Wednesday's rather, video on AEW. Now, AEW, speaking of AEW could be going back to a live format. For the last few weeks, AEW has been airing taped episodes of their weekly television show on TNT Dynamite. However, that will be changing soon. Dave Meltzer reported in the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter that AEW is likely going back to live programming in a few weeks, 2 weeks to be exact, which would put them in the same position as WWE, which is doing a mixture of live and taped TV programming for Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. Meltzer pointed out how AEW's plans could change depending on the circumstances of the CV. The promotion still has enough content to get them through next month. Meltzer reported that the plan as of right now is for AEW to go back either weekly or more often, starting on May 6th. They also plan to hold shows from Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida. Starting May 6th, the promotion will push hard for the feuds that they have planned for their Double or Nothing pay-per-view on May 23rd. AEW also expects to have about twice as much talent available for the next set of tapings. Some talent who haven't worked previous TV tapings could be working upcoming shows. The reason talent didn't work previous events was due to them not being brought in as they were heavily hit in the areas with the virus. Some talent have started to go into quarantine ahead of the tapings. It is expected the shows will focus on the talent that will be on the pay-per-view for Double or Nothing. I am okay with this. And I know there'll be some idiot out there that misconstrues what I'm going to say. You know, we gave WWE shit for it. Well, why aren't you giving AEW shit for it? Now, I'm not giving WWE shit for being live. I'm not. I know the reasons why they're live. It's got to do with the TV contracts and Vince not wanting the TV contract to be renegotiated because he's wanting that money, as that money is going to be depended upon for their stock and how they're looked at on Wall Street. And plus, they're in a major amount of debt. I read on Friday. They're in $550 million worth of debt or something like that. But we got AEW going live in May. We've already gotten states and cities within those states opening up. We're in the time frame now where before, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, people were living in uncertainty, and then that uncertainty moved on to fear, and now that fear is becoming depression and frustration, and now that frustration and depression is turning into downright anger because people can only take so much. People can only take so much about wearing the mask and the gloves and this and that, and they can only take so much without having to go to work, and they can only take so much with not having live sports on TV and this and that, and the current ways in which we're living. You know, I mentioned yesterday, if these states and cities are cities that you reside in, and states that you reside in, they're not telling you that you have to be outside. By all means, stay home. Stay home. Continue to flatten the curve. But if you're going to tell people who are obviously frustrated and need to get back to work and they want to get back to work and this and that, they can't be cooped up in their house anymore. The more we move closer to the summer, it's not going to be. People are not going to stay home. They're going to force themselves outside, no matter what the rules and regulations are. So I feel like with these states and cities reopening now anyway, it's okay for AEW to say, finally, you know what, we're going to go back to work, right? Georgia is opened up. Florida has been labeling WWE and AEW as an essential business. The reason why I'm not going to shit on AEW for this is because AEW, yeah, they were still taping in the middle of a pandemic, but they had the right idea. They got weeks of television with the hope that when come the end of May and come Double or Nothing, that things will hopefully be on the road to normal. And they got everything out. They got weeks of television out, whether you like it or not. I don't particularly like it because of the certain circumstances that we're in. That's neither here or there, though. But they did the most important thing out of all. They left their roster home with their families, their kids, their wives, their husbands. They were left in quarantine. They were not asking the talent to be at a live TV taping week after week after week after week, like WWE did. And AEW, yeah, they did tape when they did, but their roster is at home. WWE forced everybody to come to work, and they forced people to come to work and tape. Now, you're not going to speak up, and we talked about this yesterday because of fear. Fear of losing your spot on TV, fear of losing your job. You know, with the budget cuts that happen, nobody's going to speak up because they need this job, they need that money, they need to provide for their families. The reason why I'm not going to shit on AEW here is because WWE operated when they did, before they were labeled an essential business, before Linda McMahon's Super PAC gave Ron DeSantis in the state of Florida $18.5 million for whatever reason. Some look at it as a bribe. Some look at it for other reasons. I don't give a shit. It's none of my business. I don't get into the politics game. I really don't. I don't give a shit. But the fact that WWE was acting as if nothing was going to shut them down, the fact that WWE was acting all godlike, like Vince McMahon was acting all godlike, like the virus is not going to do anything to him and the company, right? That he's going to carry on with WrestleMania. He was the only one who wanted WrestleMania to continue and go on. You know, no matter what the roster had felt or said to him during that entire WrestleMania season, it was reported that Vince McMahon wanted to have WrestleMania inside an empty Raymond James Stadium. They acted as if they were above it all. That's why people were upset with WWE. That's why people were saying, shut it down. You're going to get people sick because of you wanting to put on a show. Now things are getting better. Now AEW is in the camp of, okay, well, everything else is opening up, so we're going to open up too. They waited. They did the right thing. WWE, they didn't do the right thing. They disobeyed everybody's wishes and concerns and this and that and operated as if nothing was going on. That's why people shit on WWE. Nobody shit on AEW. Very little people shit on AEW. And I am not going to sit here and shit on AEW for opening up when the majority of the fucking country wants the country to be opened up. I'm not going to shit on them. As long as you're practicing social distancing and you're wearing your masks and you're taking the proper precautions until things continue to get better, and hopefully we don't have to deal with this anymore. As long as you're doing that and being responsible while you're out, while the state is open, when you go get your hair, wear a mask. Go get your hair cut, wear a mask. If you're going to the gym, wear a mask or gloves or whatever. Take the proper precautions. But you don't have to go out there. You could stay home. These people have a job to do. UFC has UFC 249 happening in Jacksonville. NFL, I'm reading. They got the draft happening all weekend. NFL's going to open with the season in an empty stadium or empty stadiums across the league. I'm waiting for baseball to do the same thing. I would be more comfortable watching a football game or a baseball game in an empty stadium than I would be watching a pro wrestling show in an empty arena. I don't need the fans to watch or enjoy a baseball game. I don't need the fans to enjoy my Braves. I need the fans to enjoy a wrestling show. So if things are slowly starting to get normal, and then we take the next step and go into that phase 2, 3, 4 that they were talking about, then we're on our way to getting things back to normal. But it all starts with this. So I'm okay with this. I'm not going to shit on AEW. Everybody shit on WWE because of their godlike complex. Oh, they want to be greater than all. Oh, nobody else is doing anything. We're going to use this for, possible ratings increase. We're going to be the only sports on TV. People are going to want to watch us out of necessity now because there's no other sports on. WWE was doing it to benefit themselves, meanwhile ignoring everything that was going on around them. AEW was very concerned about their roster, and their roster's been home quarantined like they should be. Now it's time to get everybody back to work. So I'm not going to shit on AEW for going back to a live format. I don't want to watch a wrestling show in front of an empty arena. But I also don't want to watch a taped show that I know has been taped 6 weeks ago. I don't want to watch a taped pay-per-view like I did WrestleMania. So things need to start getting back to normal. Killer Kross, or Karrion Kross. We got Killer Kross making his NXT debut on last Wednesday. It was an interesting final segment to end the show. He attacked Tommaso Ciampa. You seen Scarlett Bordeaux's big heel, black heel, and then you seen Kross himself in the ear of Ciampa, tick-tock, and he looked up with a nasty snarl in the camera. Now he's going by the name of Karrion Kross in WWE, and Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select has provided some more details on the reasoning for the name. It turns out that the new name was Kross's idea as opposed to WWE's. Karrion is the decaying flesh of dead animals, which is the meaning behind the first name that replaced Killer. For obvious reasons, WWE's not going to have someone by the name of Killer Kross on their programming. It was noted that there are also ties to Latin and Greek mythology, and Charon is the name. It turns out that Charon was a ferryman of Hades who carried the souls of the newly deceased across the river Styx and Archeon. So that's that. You're going to get into that Greek and Latin mythology, man. I'm all for it. I love that shit. Finally, Kross has a tattoo of Kyrion on his back. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing these names right, but he's got a big tattoo on his back that also has symbolism to his new name. It looks like Kross will be feuding with Tommaso Ciampa moving forward as Kross attacked the former NXT champion in a segment. It is very clear that Kross will be getting a big push right off the bat, which lines up with previous reports before his debut. So Meltzer, just to throw this in there as well, Meltzer reported a couple of months ago that Kross would be fast-tracked when he made his debut. Everybody thought he was going to be fast-tracked to the main roster. I'm glad to see that he is on NXT, as I do think, at this time especially, this is the brand that he will excel at, or excel on, most. So that's that. Why NXT talent was released from the WWE last week? Was it necessary on Black Wednesday, along with the 20 main roster cuts? Now, much of the focus obviously took place on the main roster with the 20 cuts, but there were also several NXT stars that found themselves on the chopping block. The reason for many of these releases on the main roster appears to have been a lack of creative for them, or that they simply weren't necessary for the main roster to carry on functioning. Regarding NXT, however, it appears there was a different reason as to why many of these stars were released, as a source told Fightful. And I quote, "The primary line of thinking in releasing NXT talent were people who had expressed their dissatisfaction creatively, who had long tenures without plans." There you go. There you go. WWE did everybody a favor, folks. It needs to become more of a blessing in disguise mentality and less of, oh, I feel so bad for them that they got terminated and fired, or whatever term you want to use, in the middle of a pandemic. Last week it was like that. This week I'm looking at it a little bit more differently. Last week I was like, oh man, refreshing my Twitter every 5 seconds to see who was the next one gone from WWE. Now I'm looking at it a little bit differently, looking back at it. I'm looking at it as everybody that was released is going to find work. The ones I really feel bad for are the people that really didn't get any head start in the industry training with the WWE. You might have picked up a thing here or there. You might have learned how to wrestle, but what are you going to do? How are you going to put yourself out there? Are you going to have the motivation to continue wrestling? Is anybody going to look at you? in the industry to give you a shot? I don't know. So we don't know in regards to that, but I feel bad for those people who were released, some of the lower end guys and women who really haven't done anything. They've barely scratched the surface in pro wrestling. Cassius Ohno, EC3, Deonna Purrazzo, Eric Rowan, Heath Slater, Rusev, Lio Rush, guys like that, they're going to find work. Whether they end up in AEW or Impact or Ring of Honor, everybody's going to find work, folks. New Japan, everybody's going to find work. The primary line of thinking, says Fightful, in releasing NXT talent were people who had expressed their dissatisfaction creatively or had long tenures without plans. Did WWE need to release everybody? No. They could have been their same way. They could have the mentality of let's hoard, let's keep until we are ready. And they made a good decision. It's a healthier decision for them because it frees up payroll. It frees up the thought of how many people do we really need in this fucking performance center. It frees up the stress of, well, we're not using someone like Deonna Purrazzo. You know? Deonna Purrazzo was merely signed, and there's a lot of people like this under contract right now still. They just signed someone like Deonna Purrazzo to keep her from going anywhere else. Meanwhile, they had no intention on using her. She even said this week that she was creatively frustrated with the WWE, so I'm sure she's looking at this as a blessing in disguise. WWE can no longer think, we're going to sign this one for the sake of signing them and just keep them on the shelf until we're ready. That's not healthy for anybody. It's not healthy for anybody. So I'm glad that they released. Was it something that they could have gotten away with? Yes. But was it necessary? It was necessary financially because it obviously frees up money that you're not fucking using. You're wasting. It frees up them financially and it frees up WWE creatively because if you're not going to use somebody, just let them go. Seriously. That mentality sucks. Keeping somebody from someone else because of whatever reason. You don't want them to go to somebody else. You don't want them to wrestle for somebody else. Meanwhile, we'll just keep you here with no creative. We'll bury you or you're a jobber. You got one role. That's a way to deflate somebody's motivation in this industry just as fast, man. Like that. Holy shit. Cassius Ohno is going to be fine. He renamed himself Chris Hero. He will likely have less of an issue as he was already an established name on the indies before joining NXT. Now, we've been promised a second wave of releases, but I don't think WWE is going to release anybody because they trended upwards in the green during the conference call. There was nothing but profit that they told everybody that they made in the first quarter, so I don't think WWE is going to release anybody. Last week, again, it was more of, oh, man, I feel so bad for them. I love the talent. They don't need to go through this. They don't deserve this, yada, yada, yada. Now it's more of, they'll be fine. They'll be fine. They're being paid for 90 days. Nobody's going anywhere with the 90 days, so the 90 days doesn't even look like it exists right now. They're still being paid by WWE for the 90 days, and after that, they can go and do whatever they want. They're all going to find work. They're all going to find work. And I don't think WWE is going to release anybody else because, like I said, they trended upwards. They trended green. They trended a profit on Wall Street. Stock went up like $6 on Friday. So they were averaging around $44, $45 a share, up from like $39, $40. So, you know, they're doing okay for now. But as far as the backlash goes, WWE got a lot of backlash for letting people go. So I think WWE is going to kind of take it easy with the cuts for now. But I'm assuming that if anything goes bad again and we get another outbreak, another second wave of this shit, maybe WWE will end up releasing more in the months ahead. So we don't really know. So WWE talent released from NXT. Was it something that they needed to do? Not really. But was it necessary? Yeah, I look at it as a positive in every which way, financially and creatively. Was Lio Rush fired for not working NXT? I don't know. I would hope not, because then that would go against everything that was reported on Friday's show. Now, Lio Rush, according to Dave Meltzer, Lio Rush stated that he won't work the NXT tapings until the CV and the pandemic subsides. Now he's out of a job, and the timing of his release was noticed. Dave Meltzer says, it also doesn't help the perception from the talent when a guy like Lio Rush publicly stated that he wasn't going to work while the pandemic was going on, and then just a short time later, he was fired. End quote. The Wrestling Observer newsletter noted that both Beth Phoenix and Nigel McGuinness, if you guys were wondering about where they were, they weren't fired. They weren't amongst the releases. They had been absent from NXT TV for good reason. It is reported that since they both have young children, and the reason why I put Nigel McGuinness and Beth Phoenix in this story is because Lio Rush has young children too, I believe, at home, and a wife. They have young children at home, and the decision was made for them to stay home rather than risk making the trip. Nigel McGuinness and Beth Phoenix are still both with the company, says Meltzer, because of the concern with the virus. Both McGuinness and Phoenix have young children and are not wanting to quarantine for 2 weeks. Neither are working right now. Phoenix and McGuinness will likely return to the NXT announced decks very soon. Mauro Ranallo is also unable to make the tapings from California, but the company set up a system where he can record his voice for certain moments and matches on NXT TV. So it's okay for Nigel McGuinness and Beth Phoenix to not want to work because they got a family and young children and spouses at home. But when Lio Rush stated that he won't work the NXT TV tapings because of the pandemic and he would rather wait for the pandemic to subside, then he was released. Doesn't really make a lot of sense there. Now, it does look like, if that was said, and then his termination came soon after, that he was fired for being a bad little boy. Now, WWE obviously is not going to come out and admit that. It's going to be very interesting if Lio Rush is interviewed by anybody, what he's going to say about what his reasons are for why he was terminated. It's going to be very interesting to see if Lio Rush throws the company underneath the bus. But WWE could use the fact that he was a bad seed backstage. He got into some backstage altercations many months ago. They kept him off TV for about 6 months. They brought him back. They gave him the Cruiserweight Championship. So it looked like, even if you want to talk about that situation, WWE clearly, they forgave and forgot in that situation. Because if he was such a bad seed, and he was such a bad influence, and did bad things backstage, and caused a headache backstage, and was a problem backstage, the first time he comes back, you make him the Cruiserweight Champion? So I guess he really wasn't that bad of a problem backstage anyway. So then you look at this. He stated that he didn't want to work the tapings at NXT because of the virus, and he wanted to wait it out. Then he got fired? I don't think WWE looks good in any situation here, if that's the case. That was brought up by Meltzer. Again, we don't know if that's the case, but it's going to be very interesting to see if Lio Rush was fired because he stated to management that he didn't want to work NXT until the virus was subsided. And if that was the case, I don't know why he wasn't granted to stay home. Lio Rush doesn't want to put himself in jeopardy, and WWE doesn't need Lio Rush at this moment. If they want to leave Lio Rush at home, it's fine. The show will be fine without him. Fine without him. But then he also complained how he wasn't used in the Cruiserweight tournament that's going on right now, and then he was released. So I don't know what's going on. Again, it's going to be very interesting. That first podcast he has, what his explanation is going to be as to why he was fired. Now, let's get into the conference call with Vince McMahon, folks. Let's go over what this senile fuck had to say in regards to WWE. The WWE conference call with Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon had some serious praise for the WWE roster. Oh, he now wants to pretend to be a good guy, does Vince McMahon. Now, while Vince McMahon doesn't come across as the guy who will say thank you or doesn't come across like the type of boss that will be a nice person to work for, apparently he showed his gratitude to those who have managed to keep working during the virus and the pandemic. During the investors' call on Wall Street, Vince asked about the money the company has saved by doing empty arena shows, and he explained that WWE relies on its audience and therefore wanted to give a lot of credit to the wrestlers for soldiering on. He says, and I quote, "I have to give kudos to all of our performers. They're working so hard, and when you're in the ring, you're normally playing off a live audience, and there's no one there now. It's different, but our performers are stepping it up and really, really working hard. We're trying to produce a great product, giving the consideration of where we are." End quote. He went on to say he's very proud of the roster for rising to the occasion. That seems like it would be a perfect segue into a Blue Chew advertisement. BlueChew.com, by the way, code JD at checkout for your free sample. Just want to make sure you guys are rising to the occasion when you can, because I know these shows ain't rising to the fucking occasion, but you can with Blue Chew. Now that that's out of the way, adapting to the unique situation everyone currently finds themselves in. So his roster is rising to the occasion, like Val Venus. Our only natural resource, obviously, is talent, and our talent has taken this as a challenge, have taken this almost as a duty, which has always happened with us, Vince said. And they realize that, People are sitting at home, they're bored, and the fact that we can entertain families together, entertain them like no one else can entertain them. So I think that they look at this as a challenge, and they've really risen to the occasion. It's amazing to think about. And there are a few that are unable to come down with certain existings, certain things that exist, but nonetheless, by and large, kudos to them. They are very, very special people. They're extraordinary athletes. They love to give. That's what this business is about. That's why they got into it, to give and perform for the audience. There's no live audience, but that's another kudos to them because you have to think about that when you're in the ring as if the live audience. So all in all, I am very proud of them. So let me backtrack here, folks. Let's go back. Let's take the time machine back just a couple of minutes ago. The fact that we can entertain families, bring families together, entertain them like no one else can entertain them. Now, I'm not saying that there are people out there that are like me and shit on the show every single week. That's my choice to do so because that's exactly what the reality of the situation is. No matter if there's fans or no fans, you could put anybody, you could put mannequins in the fucking crowd to pretend that they're fans. It doesn't matter who the fuck is there. These shows are terrible. They are putting on a product. They are moving forward with storylines as if nothing is going on outside in the world today, and they are open to criticisms. I don't give a shit what the fuck is going on. They're open to criticisms, okay? But folks, I gotta ask you a very serious, real question. Are you and your family entertained by WWE programming on Monday and Friday night? And if you say the answer is yes, you might be someone who watches this show with rose-colored glasses on that does not want to find fault in what they do, does not want to find the illogical fucking gaps that WWE provides us on a weekly basis with these shows. I'm not saying that you can't be entertained. And if you're entertained and it takes you away from what's going on in the world today, God bless you. God bless you. Okay? It's great. You could use wrestling as an escape. I don't need wrestling as an escape, folks. I need wrestling to pay my fucking bills. That's the reason why I'm happy it's on. If wrestling had a choice to be on or not to be on, I would actually take the next couple months off and I would work on my Twitch channel. That's what I would do. Or I know I would survive because I've built an audience for myself, and I'm very fortunate, and I love that you guys are here and waiting to hear what I say every single week. But I honestly think I would be fine. I could go back and take a certain time period back in March or April of 1999 or March, April 2000 and watch those Monday Night Raws in place of whatever Monday Night Raw would be on now, and I would review those shows, and I would review those pay-per-views going back in the day. I would be fine. I would rather watch pro wrestling when it comes back after a 2-month absence than watch pro wrestling now in its current state. I don't know when we're going to have live fans, but this has been a draining experience. It's actually leading to me being depressed because I used to actually somewhat enjoy watching these shows with a live audience. At least I was somewhat excited. Now I'm not, especially on Wednesday. It's very shitty on Wednesday. Wednesday, I look forward to it. Wednesday, I look forward to having 5, 6, 7, 8,000 people screaming on Dynamite. I don't got that now. I got fucking Pineapple Pete in the fucking crowd on Dynamite. It's a bare bones show. Bare bones NXT show. It's not good. It's not good. It actually makes me depressed more so watching these shows. So are you being entertained? Somewhat. But are WWE bringing families together? Are they woven into the fabric of society? The answer is no. The answer is no. But then again, just like all these conference calls, what is Vince McMahon supposed to say? Is he supposed to go out there and say, man, these shows suck in its current state? We need fans in attendance. Of course he's not going to say that. He's going to do what he's got to do, and he's going to appease these people who are investing in his company. Triple H apparently This, I'm surprised, has not made the news yet as I record this. I'm assuming this is going to be all over the fucking news. I don't know why it wouldn't be. They pretty much admitted that they got a cure for fucking the CV. Triple H apparently has a cure for CV-19. This is what he explained. Triple H explained to the shareholders. This is how outlandish they are. This is how outlandish they are. Not only are they bringing smiles and bringing families together and are woven into the fabric of society, now they got a fucking cure for the CV. During the WWE First Quarter conference call, a spray was mentioned that they are using at the Performance Center. Vince McMahon brought up this mysterious spray as he was discussing the measures that they are taking to protect all WWE staff from CV-19. He says, and I quote, "When we're here, we're performing in small groups in terms of waves. Where the arena is concerned, we change the turnbuckles and the ropes between matches. We kind of have a pandemic cleaning, I guess you could say, on a very frequent basis. The Clorox 360 stuff, we have something additional as well." Triple H then explained that the company buys a spray from Allied Bioscience. Where the arena is concerned, we change the turnbuckles between the ropes. Okay? I doubt that's even the case. They change the turnbuckles every match? I don't know. We don't know. Nobody's there to even see. So, it's either you go and believe what Vince McMahon is saying or you believe what you're thinking in regards to this shit. Triple H went on about this Allied Bioscience. They sell a spray that clings to surfaces. Once it is on the surface, it stays there for 90 to 120 days and kills CV-19 along with any other viruses. Triple H said it acts like a sword and punctures the cell wall of the virus. There is a process which makes it cling to the surface, and the surface, once it's coated with this, lasts for 90 to 120 days, acts like a sword, punctures the cell wall of what causes the virus, and lasts 90 to 120 days, and even lasts longer than the other cleaning in various levels of everything that we're doing. This is what he stated. Now, clearly, this is not going to be something that you're injecting into a human body because a cleaning agent, I'm not going to come on here and act like Trump where he pretty much said without saying, yeah, let's inject people with fucking Lysol. Let's inject people with bleach, right? That's what he said on one of his White House briefings the other day. Now, this is clearly not what you can inject into a human being to kill the CV, but, I mean, they are acting as if they have all the answers here. They got a Allied Bioscience spray. Now, what makes this different than the bottle of Lysol that I have sitting on my kitchen counter right now, where you look at the back of the label and the things that it kills, and the name of the said virus that we're dealing with right now is mentioned right on the label. It's mentioned right on the label. Now, I didn't mention that 6 months ago. Wasn't on there. But now it's on there. Now it's on there. So what makes this stuff different than what we are using here at home? I honestly feel like, now I could be wrong on this. Maybe they do have something. I don't fucking know. But WWE goes about these conference calls in a manner of which they are fucking on top of everything, that nothing can go wrong, right? They give you lies. They tell you this fucking bullshit on these calls. I honestly feel like this is Triple H just taking what we have at home that kills the fucking virus, and he's making it out to be so great to these shareholders and stockholders so that they don't raise any more concerns. Yeah, we got it under control. Let me take whatever we got and read off whatever the fucking thing does on the back of the label, sell it to these people so that they don't ask us any more questions about who got COVID, who was this, who was that. I said the name of the fucking thing. Go fuck yourself. Whatever. I feel like they're making it out to be some scientific thing that they have a hold of so that these people don't ask them any more questions. That's all it is. If this is manipulated and twisted in the mainstream, WWE has something that kills the virus for 120 days. It's going to be all over the fucking news. They spawned it off as if they came up with the fucking cure right then and there. Fuck Bill Gates and fuck a World Health Organization, right? Fuck the year-long wait that they're talking about for a vaccine. WWE's got the vaccine right here in the Performance Center. It's unreal. WWE is using this spray at the Performance Center, in the warehouses, on the production trucks. They're using Lysol, folks. That's exactly what they're using. If you'd like more information about the product, you guys can go look at it online from Allied Bioscience. This is quite an interesting piece of information. WWE is doing everything that they can to protect against the virus, and they're doing everything to lessen the worry. After it was reported that one of their roster members, had CV, they're doing everything to make everyone lessen their worries. That's all they're doing. McMahon noted regarding TV viewership since moving to the Performance Center, there really wasn't, especially on SmackDown, much difference in terms of where we are and in terms of where we are now, or where we were and where we are now. He did note that Monday Night Raw is off with the ratings. Bro, I would appreciate you stop lying to the shareholders and the people that are investing in your company. Things aren't off with SmackDown. You went from a 4.0 on opening night on Fox to a 2, and you've gone down ever since to where it is now. SmackDown's rating on Friday was a 2.1. So I'd love for you to tell me why you're saying that Raw is off and SmackDown is not. And why are they off? Why are they off? Oh, we'll get to that. We'll get to that, folks. He did note that Raw is off with the ratings. So is SmackDown. McMahon says he doesn't know what's to come with the virus, but they plan to adapt to it, which he brought up that they've done with the budget cuts. He says they're very flexible based on what government and what fans want. They're very flexible based on what the government and what the fans want. Clearly, you're very flexible in what the government wants. Well, who the fuck knows? Who knows what they're doing if they're abiding by the rules and regulations? They're an essential business now, so they can do whatever the fuck they want. They're open for business, so as long as they're following whatever guidelines are in place for an essential business, then they're good to go. Are they very flexible? Are they doing what the fans want? Absolutely not. I don't know why he lies constantly to these people. Frank Riddick III ran through the revenue numbers. WWE Network average paid subscribers were 1.46 million, which decreased 8%. 2.1 million subscribers in total. I'm assuming the 2.1 is the overall number. The 1.46 million is the people in the United States. Funny thing is, folks, Vince McMahon opened up the conference call for investors to ask questions. And someone actually had the balls to ask him, how many of those numbers, Vince, are paid subscribers? Are you willing to divulge that information? We would like to know the difference between the paid and the free. Do the 1.46 million or the 2.1 million subscribers in total, does that include free memberships that like they've been given out? He says yes. Are you willing to divulge the information on how many of those people that are subscribed to the network are paid subscribers? He said flat out, no. And I don't understand, after hearing that, why people continue to do business with this fucking crook. I really don't. So, revenues increased 60%, $291 million, as compared to the prior year quarter. Those TV deals went into effect, folks. You gotta love it. Net income was $26.2 million as compared to a loss of $8.4 million in the first quarter of 2019. Live event revenues declined to $17.5 million from $26.2 million in the prior year. That obviously has a big chunk to do with the fact that WWE was not able to run live shows due to the virus, and how many of that would have been recouped if WWE went ahead with WrestleMania as planned in Raymond James Stadium. Would that have been in line with where they were in the year prior, 2019's first quarter? I don't know. But the virus and the fact that they were not able to run live shows, they obviously were affected by that very heavily going into March and half of April. So that's that. Riddick stated, currently, we are unable to estimate when pay-per-view rights can be sold, interrupted by CV, but we will continue to believe that it is very possible to sell the rights to the pay-per-views. So they're still on that, and you know for a fact they're still going to do that because they need to show everybody that they are up in revenue. And if that means selling to ESPN, that means selling to ESPN, and fuck the network. Vince McMahon did mention a deal to sell the WWE pay-per-view rights was very close before the CV hit. Back in January, Vince McMahon announced WWE was looking to sell their pay-per-view rights before the end of March. It was widely known that the company had been in negotiations with ESPN, but no deal has been completed as of yet, in part because of the CV pandemic. ESPN didn't want it. They backed out for now because they weren't sure spending the amount of money Vince McMahon was asking for was going to be worth it during this entire situation. So they came back with another offer. Vince wasn't going to sell. Vince had a number in mind. He plans to revisit that in the near future when things hopefully get back to normal. During WWE's Q1 2020 results conference call, McMahon and Frank A. Riddick III were asked if the pandemic had ended streaming providers' interest in acquiring WWE pay-per-view rights. Riddick said this, and I quote, "The main issue has been they just have their own issues to deal with in trying to respond to CV. But we haven't heard that they don't have a lack of interest in the property. That's not the case. I think we're excited about the performance in the network in this environment. I think it only enhances the value of it and gives us more options. But we are still pursuing a strategic transaction." McMahon added onto this and confirmed that the company was close to a deal before the pandemic started. Vince added, "I think that the COVID stuff," there again I said it, I'm an idiot, CV stuff, caught everybody with their pants down. We had a number of individuals who were very interested in our network, and just when you think you're getting close to the bottom, or getting close, the bottom fell out. Very close with a number of individuals that really want our network. On the other hand, we're continuing to invest in it with a free tier. So what WWE is going to do in the meantime is they're going to go free, and they're obviously either going to stay with the $9.99 or enhance that price to an $11.99 or a $12.99 and add more content on the back end for the paid tier of the subscription. So I don't know what that is going to look like. It could look like it could stay the same. It could be more. I don't know. Whatever it is, I'm going to end up paying for it anyway because it's the only way to get the pay-per-views, and it's worth the price of admission for the pay-per-views in itself, on top of all the original programming that WWE's got on there and all the back catalog of pay-per-view shows that we could go back and watch anytime, anywhere. I think it's worth it. No matter what you think of the company, I think the network is fucking phenomenal. Now, I don't know what WWE is going to do as far as that goes. I don't know if they're going to work with the network and trying to enhance the network now and then sell. I'm not sure what they're going to do. But it looks like they're still trying to sell. What they're trying to sell is the Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, WrestleMania, Survivor Series, Money in the Bank, if that's going to be considered one of the big five. And then all the other stuff needs to remain on the network because you need people to have a reason to subscribe to the network. Sell those pay-per-views to a bigger streaming service like an ESPN or whatever, and keep the B-level pay-per-views on the network and give people reason to stick with the network. Nobody's going to pay fucking $70 on an ESPN Plus for a fucking Battleground pay-per-view. Can you imagine? Jesus Christ. Now, McMahon was asked about the TV ratings. McMahon was asked about the TV ratings being down despite being the only live sports on TV right now. He may be the only sports on TV right now, but that doesn't mean it's good sports. Said that it's completely different. A different feel without fans, but they're doing very well without fans. He talked about the importance of having fans in attendance. He said the WWE is going to figure out ways around that by being creative. He said there are a lot of things that they will have to figure out regarding having no audience and thinks that it can turn a negative into a positive. He blamed lower Raw TV ratings. Get this. Get this, folks. He blamed lower Raw TV ratings on bringing in new talent. It takes time with talent. I'm convinced Raw's ratings are going to bounce back considerably. Now, what does he mean by that? What does he mean by that? Now, the lack of fans has nothing to do with the ratings drop, according to Vince McMahon. It is, in fact, Brock Lesnar's fault for not being the WWE champion anymore. Speaking during the Q1 investors call, Vince said this. As far as ratings are concerned, SmackDown has virtually no change. Very little. Raw has suffered, but not necessarily because of the environment. It's suffered because we are bringing in a lot of new talent to Raw, and it takes a while to get the new talent over. We no longer have Brock Lesnar, obviously, but we have a new champion. He didn't name who that new champion was, by the way. We have a new champion and a lot of new performers coming in. I'm convinced the Raw ratings will bounce back considerably. Folks, if you are one of these people on this call, clearly you're not watching the show. Because you would see, plain as day, that this man is lying right to your faces. He's lying directly to you. Now, as a research aspect here for this particular section, I pulled up the ratings for the entire year of 2020 from Monday Night Raw. I'm going to read you the ratings as follows, folks, throughout the remainder of the year that we've seen so far. From January all the way to the current point in which we sit right now with the last edition of Monday Night Raw. The January 6th episode of Monday Night Raw drew a 2.3 rating. The January 13th edition of Raw drew a 2.03 rating. The January 20th edition of Monday Night Raw drew a 2.3. January 27th, that was the Royal Rumble post-show, 2.4. So not much difference from the week prior. You got February 3rd, 2.1. February 10th, 2.3. February 17th, 2.4. February 24th, 2.2. March 2nd, 2.2. March 9th, 2.1. March 16th, 2.0. March 23rd, 1.9. March 30th, 2.0. April 6th, 2.1. April 13th, 1.9. April 20th, which was the latest edition of Monday Night Raw, a 1.8. So, folks, I would love to know. I'd love for you to fill me in here. So they were bringing in a lot of new talent, right? They're bringing in a lot of new talent. They got the same roster on Monday Night Raw that was last year's roster, as we had a shake-up or a draft or whatever the fuck we had. We had a draft, right? The Monday Night Raw roster remained ultimately the same. They moved Lesnar over to SmackDown. They realized that they wanted Lesnar on Raw because of Paul Heyman's affiliation there, so they moved Bray Wyatt over to SmackDown, and they moved Brock Lesnar over to Monday Night Raw. Folks, outside that, the only new talent that they added on the show were Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza. And as of late, Austin Theory. So you're adding three new talents to a roster that already existed on Monday Night Raw. And he's citing the fact that the new talents that were brought up and added to the show are the reasons for the low ratings. But I'm looking at a 2.1 rating on February 3rd. I'm looking at a 2.0 rating on January 13th in the middle of Royal Rumble season. But I'm looking at ratings that are ultimately very similar to the ratings that you're getting during Royal Rumble season when you actually had live fans in attendance. So don't tell me that the fucking talent that you got on the show were the reasons for the low ratings. Don't even bother with the bullshit. Because I will be able to call you out on... And I don't really know how people sit there and fucking listen to this guy speak without asking fucking questions. You got a bunch of fucking zombie blithering idiots investing in this company. Because if there was one fucking person on that phone call, they would have called them out on it. Vince, really? It's the new talent and their fault for the ratings dipping below 1.9, 1.8. Right? It has nothing to do with the fucking fact that there's no live audience. It's got nothing to do with the fact that people don't give a shit about the fucking product because of the current state that we're in and the current product that you're putting on in lieu of the fucking pandemic, right? Now you're going to blame it on an Angel Garza. You're going to blame it on an Austin Theory. Worst case scenario, you're going to blame it on a fucking Drew McIntyre. Drew's not getting over. Drew's not getting over. We got to put the title back on Brock going into SummerSlam. Are you fucking serious? Then he mentions that we got a new WWE champion. He fails to mention who the new WWE champion is. Because these fucking people don't know who the fuck Drew McIntyre is. Seriously. It's the talent's fault? Very little has changed on SmackDown. Very little. You were drawing a 2.8 about a month ago. Now you're down to a 2.1. Very little's fucking changed. The show sucks. Do something to change it. Legitimately. Raw has suffered. but not necessarily because of the environment, he says. Are you fucking serious? These shows are insufferable. Absolutely insufferable. It's suffered because we bring in a lot of new talent to the show. And it takes a while to get new talent. Over. How much of that new talent have you fucking buried? How much of it have you buried? It takes a while to get new talent over. Yeah, when you bring up Ricochet as the second coming of Jesus Christ on Monday Night Raw, feed him to Brock Lesnar, have him go through a feud with AJ Styles, win the United States Championship, have him lose it a week later, feed him to Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship as a way to just fucking maybe get him over, show everybody what he could do. You feed him to Brock Lesnar in about 30 seconds, doesn't get one fucking move off. No wonder it takes WWE so much time to build up new talent, because you buried them so far fucking deep that they can't see fucking fresh air for about 3 fucking years. Are you fucking serious with this bullshit? Cedric Alexander, buried. Ricochet, buried. Aleister Black sat in a fucking broom closet, sniffing bleach for about 11 months. Austin Theory brought up. He's on his way to being buried on Monday Night Raw. If anything that happened on Raw says anything about his current standing on the show. Angel Garza, buried. Humberto, buried. Is Vince going to explain to everybody that he doesn't like people who don't speak the proper English language, and he fails to push and book guys prominently because they don't cut a good promo? Is he going to say that? Give me a break. Give me a break. Or how about Becky Lynch being the Raw Women's Champion, and every segment that she's on is a ratings killer? Or women's wrestling and the women's division in general, a ratings killer. How about Becky Lynch and her social media interaction on YouTube? How about Becky Lynch's clips drawing the least out of anybody on the show? Yet it's the new talent that you fail to push and get over. No, it's the new talent. It has nothing to do with Seth Rollins. What about the main events? That's Seth Rollins and Kevin Owens, and Seth Rollins and the Street Profits, and Seth Rollins and this guy, and Seth Rollins and Samoa Joe, and whoever the fuck Seth Rollins is in the ring against. Fucking week after week after week after week. What about those fucking weeks? Where the ratings dipped to a 1.8 during those fucking matches. Is it the new talent? Or is it your current talent? Which one is it? Or how about the fucking rinse and repeat same shit every week? This gets me so heated. It gets me so fucking heated. Honestly. Or how about the Bobby Lashley-Lana wedding? Something that's not even wrestling related. That you did as a one-off. Did something with that to pop a fucking rating because you're so fucking shitty at your job. So desperate. So desperate for any type of mainstream traction that you went in the opposite route away from pro wrestling, because you can't book proper pro wrestling anymore. You can't. You can't. And you know who's going to suffer for all this? You know who's going to suffer for all of this? All this bullshit is Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre is going to suffer because they will directly associate him being the champion to the reason why they're not drawing ratings. Look, we gave you what you wanted, it's not working. How the fuck do you know it's going to work if they're not in the normal circumstances? You can't gauge anything. You can't put blame on anybody during this time. You can't do that. I don't understand how this man was able to sit there and lie to these people about this. If there's one thing that I'm skilled in, it is watching this every single week and remembering what I was given on a weekly basis so that when I hear shit like this, I come to you with fucking facts. Facts! This is bullshit. Absolute bullshit. And what does that say about Drew McIntyre? Indirectly burying him and throwing him under the bus when he didn't even probably mean to do that. Or did he? Or did he? Nothing like a new WWE champion on the fucking show by giving him confidence by blaming him by blaming him. Oh, the reason why the Raw ratings are in the bottom of the barrel is because we got new talent on the fucking show. Some confidence. What a vote of fucking confidence that Drew McIntyre has at the top of that roster now. Jesus fucking Christ. I'm sure he's gleaming with such positivity now about Vince McMahon, right? I gotta thank Vince McMahon for this and that. Meanwhile, Vince is fucking talking to a bunch of fucking eggheads over here on Wall Street who don't know how to spell the word wrestling, let alone know what a fucking wrestling match is, burying his world champion in front of people who don't give a shit about the product. He's lying to them because he knows he can get away with it. Unbelievable. So what did we learn here, folks? What did we learn here? The Raw ratings were in the fucking toilet before anybody came to the show. They were in the toilet with the same fucking roster, with an addition of a guy here or a guy there. No, the creative has nothing to do with it, though. The creative has nothing to do with it. The fact that we got the same fucking show. I wonder, what about that Street Profits segment? What about that Street Profits? How many times did we see Rollins and Murphy versus the Street Profits in the span of a month? I counted about 4 times. After one time, I was done. Then WWE goes about booking a show, right? During this fucking pandemic with the Street Profits and Garza and Theory and Zelina Vega and Bianca Belair that took up a whole fucking hour of the show and went from a tag team match to a women's match to a 6-person tag. False finish after false finish after false finish. And then they wonder why the fans are not invested in the show. Because you don't take the proper steps to make the show fucking good. Yet you want me to sit there and fucking take, and not complain about what we're seeing. Unfucking believable. Unbelievable. Stop defending this fucking goon. Stop defending this shit. Stop defending this cretin. He blatantly lied to everybody because he knew he could get away with it because who he was speaking to have no fucking interest or idea of who these people are. They only look at WWE and see the almighty dollar. Oh, Vince is going to make me all this money. I don't give a shit about the company, but he's going to make me all this money. McMahon was asked about the second event in Saudi Arabia this year. The country wants the event in November or December. He's not sure whether it will happen, but they will get the money from holding another event there, and they might have to add it on the back end of their deal. Whatever. WWE is not likely going back to Saudi Arabia this year. Given Vince McMahon and his reasons, they'll go. They'll go. They'll bury a fucking tunnel. They'll bury themselves in a fucking tunnel. They'll dig a fucking tunnel to have this show underground. It doesn't fucking matter where they go. They have it on top of a fucking the highest peak in Saudi Arabia. They don't give a fuck. Where the air quality is 0. McMahon revealed during the Q1 conference call that they are not going to make the Saudi Arabian trip this year. We'll see. We'll see. They are not losing any money on the deal as the missed date will be moved to the end of their 10-year deal. As far as the Saudi Arabia show is concerned, they would love to have another huge WrestleMania-sized event. We usually do 2 in Saudi. They're under the same constraints that everyone else is with the pandemic. They're not sure if they can have it in November or December. The good part is that if we don't perform, we'll just tack it on to the other end of the contract. Whatever. I'm glad that we don't get to see it because it's fucking trash. The longer that deal is going to be, I guess, postponed, the better off we would be because those shows mean absolutely fucking jack shit to anybody watching this show. And to be honest with you, the fact that they don't have one in December or November, it might actually lead to those pay-per-views around it, the actual ones that we give a shit about, they might actually get bills. Because WWE at that point might not be building towards 2 other fucking pay-per-views on top of the Saudi Arabian show, like they usually do. So that is a positive in itself. McMahon was asked whether they have a backup plan regarding a taping location. He responded by saying, yes, we do. A number of states would welcome us. That just goes in line with some of the country opening up. So WWE clearly is going to use that to their advantage if they need to take the show on the road and get out of the PC. They got a number of states that would welcome them because they're woven into the fabric of society. When asked about a situation of moving to Full Sail, to air their TV with fans in attendance. McMahon stated, yes, we're looking at that. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know if it's 6 feet apart and everyone is tested beforehand. If anyone can know how to do it, it's us. And they are working to bring fans into the shows. He also did say that the lack of fans had nothing to do with the failing ratings, but obviously he lied to everybody in the room that he was conducting this conference call in. It's clear that WWE is desperate to get the fans in to watch their shows, but it would be to some people, a logistical nightmare. Testing fans before they enter, making sure they are far enough apart, obviously practicing social distancing, coughing. They're gonna monitor everyone that's fucking coughing during the entire show. Give me a break. Vince seems confident, but we'll see what his plans are. But as we all know, he's best friends with the Trump, with the Trump. So he's good to go with the president. So we'll see what happens there. A question about media partners reevaluating partnerships. McMahon stated, I think the CV stuff caught everybody with their pants down. Just when you were thinking we were getting close, the bottom fell out. We have to invest in the free tier. I mentioned that before. McMahon said the CV stuff caught everybody with their pants down. He doesn't know if they'll go back to taping in arenas and stadiums. It's going to be a more content-oriented product. It's not a problem. It's an opportunity. He says in regards to the live business and the live event business, I don't think we're going to be in the live event business like we were before. He explained that WWE's plan going forward is going to be centered around more content than live shows, and doubts anyone will be filling arenas any size in the coming months. Vince then largely refused to comment on the CV crisis, but did say, I don't want to comment on the future of the country, but I just know we're going to do well. He was also asked about the cost structure being lower now in this new environment. I think we're going to adapt very quickly. We need to be flexible. We are, and I'd rather not comment on what the future holds for the country. He says we're going to do well. He will not comment on any live shows for the time being, even though he says that they have holds on buildings. Vince was asked about the talent morale to working during the pandemic. He said that they're doing everything imaginable, testing forms, monitoring talent and employees. Our talent is taking this as a challenge. Our talent is taking this almost as a duty. Obviously, most of the roster doesn't really want to be there during this current state, as we talked about on Friday's show. And he finally ended with, there will not be a release of WWE 2K21, which is better off for everybody. That is a fact. Fuck everybody who plays this game. You guys do deserve, and I mean that in a positive way, you guys deserve an actual functioning title that is fun to play. Not some rehash fucking bullshit where you got to turn chicken shit into chicken salad every single fucking year. They need to get on their game and make a better fucking title for everybody. One that actually is back to its roots. So hopefully that is the case with WWE 2K21. Apparently, they got major news coming out of 2K about the future of the franchise and a possible title for this year in replacement of 2K21. Guys, I'm getting out of here. Thank you so very much for all your support. We got a lot covered today. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think down below. And if you think Vince is a fucking asshole, leave that thumbs up down below. And leave me a comment. Let me know what you think about his comments on the Raw ratings failing because of the fact that new talent is being brought in. Absolutely ridiculous. I couldn't wait to talk about that shit. Anyway, guys, hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to the YouTube channel down below. I will see you guys back on Monday, as always, for a brand new week of content with Monday Night Raw. Make sure you guys check out all the other content if you missed it on the channel. Off the Script Part 1 live right now on YouTube. Also on Spotify, iTunes, and Podbean, so make sure you guys go and check that out if you want the audio version. SmackDown review is live on the channel as well. We got AEW. Everything you need is linked down below in the description. Patreon.com/JDfromNY206. And I will see you guys again, like I said, back on Monday for Monday Night Raw. Until then, guys, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Stay safe. And I'll be back here with a brand new week of content on Off the Script. See you guys then.